There are some people who will never believe you, no matter how much evidence you present, no matter how much logic and reason you give them, they just won't agree with you. And I think the thing is, we need to learn to be okay with that. We can't just let it get under our skin constantly, or let us dwell on it, always trying to prove ourselves right when we're basically arguing with a brick wall. That's not going to change its mind, because then that's what most online discourse amounts to. We're just talking to a profile pit, and they're talking back to a profile pit. So we might both be inserting strawman opinions, and again, there might be a case where both of us are wrong. But the thing is, like, we won't generally convince people when they're set in their ways. Now, again, we could debate for the sake of convincing others, but I think the thing is, where does our peace dwell, or how much do we let it affect us? And being okay with the fact that there are some people who will just disagree constantly. Like, if you took all flat earthers up into a spaceship to rotate around the Earth and to prove once and for all that the Earth is round, they might think they were in a simulation, especially if it was one of you versus all of them to kind of congregate in their kind of echo chamber. Again, that's the thing, is like with a lot of echo chambers, you have a lot of people saying opinions, and so it just is repeated back and forth, and everybody agrees with it, so they don't see the kind of flaws in the argument. And that's why you kind of at least want a little bit of different points of view, and then different points of view is very valuable. But at least depending on what it is, it can tell you at least what isn't right at times. But I think the key is to basically not get caught up in those echo chambers. And really, what I also see is how it can relate to stories, because again, there is often a narrative comeuppance for not believing the protagonist, or the person telling the story about the disaster that's coming. And again, the consequence of that is getting caught up in the disaster. But oftentimes in real life and in stories, there isn't really a comeuppance waiting, at least that we can see. So I think the key here is to realize that not only would we have to be okay with that, but we can also subject our characters to that and have them either learn to triumph over it or see how it affects them deeply and so forth, or even maybe put the protagonist through that state of where they're in that state of not believing, and instead they have to learn to actually change their point of view. But anyway, those are kind of my thoughts on this. What do you think?